What's up chaps, I'm MagicalMike, and this is the Festival of the Four Winds, or the Return of the Queen's Pavilion, and the Bazaar of the Four Winds. You might remember that these two things came around July last year, and that I did patch overviews for them at the time. Well, it's interesting to see how my opinion of things has changed over time. Last year, I was incredibly cynical about Living Story, and limited time content updates. I can't say my attitude towards them has improved much, but they're certainly more fun than I at first thought. I also said that the Bazaar was, quote, a fun distraction, but it didn't hold my attention for very long. I got the achievements beaten in a day last time, and again this time. I can't really complain about that, because it's nice not to feel pressured to get everything done in a time limit, so that's okay. So I suppose while I'm talking about the Bazaar, I'll go into what's new this time around there. There's a Dolyak Guild Rush style race thing to the top, which is a real casual laid back event to get involved in, and I liked that. I did it a couple of times while I was in the zone, and I also messed with the Charged Crystal Collection event too, which was equally fun if you challenged yourself with getting the harder to reach note. The Sky Crystals were just as fun as last time, and it's good that they changed the positions of many of them. They also added these things called Master Sky Crystals, which were fantastic. For those looking to really exploit the Zephyrite skills, and to get to places where you feel like you shouldn't be, this kind of thing is a lot of fun in every game. But here, it's actually intended, and it feels well designed because of it. I had a lot of fun with that stuff, and I had way more fun doing it without using a guide, and I would also recommend that same system to anyone else that has the patience for it, because it is more satisfying to have found everything on your own. Although, much love to all those people making guides for this stuff though, because there are a lot of people who just don't have the patience for it, and I fully understand that. So, props to you guys, keep going for it. Apart from the new crystals, that's about it for the area. The Sanctum Sprint returned full time out of the rotation for now, along with the Aspect Arena. That's about it. I never mentioned the arena last year, and that's mostly because I hated the gameplay of it. I haven't even been back in this time to see if that's still the case, but I don't really want to. I wouldn't recommend it. The traders came back with the Bazaar as well. The much anticipated Blade Shard trader was a huge letdown. Not that I kept many shards in my bank, but the reward for trading those in was a bare minimum, a bunch of green items at a poor ratio. Not very good. Not the only thing to make a return though. Old Living Story rewards can also be bought for various tokens and things from this patch, so if you missed out, then there's your chance to go and get those stuff now. I don't mind so much that they're back, because they're relatively expensive, and I don't really feel like grinding for the tickets or anything. I wouldn't want to if I'd missed anything, but I can see that some people would be disappointed by these things returning because the prestige of these items is devalued a little bit, but again, it's not a big deal, I don't really mind it. The new rewards include a mini panda and a Dolyak calf tonic. I got the panda because it takes less space in my bank, and I never remember to use tonics, or mini pets to be perfectly honest. Both seem like pretty good rewards though, and you could possibly get both if you farmed hard enough, but to be honest, sod that. I just don't want to grind for the next one. I just don't feel like it. There's also this huge Canthan influence in the decorations and the architecture around the place, which might just be for China's benefit, but I don't know, I can't really say. There's also this arsehole NPC that teases us about Cantha though. It's kind of like a cheap joke at the player base's expense, but man, they know how to push our buttons, don't they? Alright, so that's the really fun stuff out of the way. The Gauntlet came back with the Pavilion as well, which is also still pretty fun. There's a new title for re-killing Liadri, but aside from that, nothing really changed in the boss lineup. It's disappointing that there weren't any new bosses to kill, but I can live with that. Mechanically, the arena's got some much needed changes that I'm very pleased about though. NPC medics to revive you were added around the gangways, which save you waypointing and doing all that nonsense. The camera issues that made the fights much harder than necessary have been fixed, and the telegraphs are now the new orange ones, which make them much easier to see. All very good changes and much needed. Now for the bad stuff on this patch. The entire rest of the pavilion, to me, is the most boring thing in the patch. And yes, I understand that the mechanics of the anti-Zerg boss blitz but I just don't have the patience to wait until people have it on lockdown and can figure it out properly to farm it. I'm sure the rewards are really good once you can beat it every 10 minutes, but as it stands right now, people take on average 30 to 40 minutes or more to finish each round, and it just isn't worth it because these bosses are so boring. We're desperately lacking any kinds of tools that would help split the Zergs more evenly, like say on-screen indications of numbers each boss, or having a gated system with maximum player limits implemented would be one such fix, if a bit heavy-handed, like how they worked it with the marionette fight. Sure, it dumbs down the game more and it can cause some annoyance like it did with that fight, but it would also stop a lot of people like me from getting bored of it so quickly. So as it stands, the pavilion boils down to a few bullet points, a few key bullet points. You get no loot from mobs, bosses have very basic mechanics that become tedious to dodge or kill in the case of that healing turret. They have 1 billion hit points that scales way too high for you Zerg, and overall, despite all the people being there, it feels completely dull and lifeless. It's boring, would not recommend that either. Oh, and the kill 50 mobs of each type achievement? Why do these even exist? That's a terrible implementation. Just no. No. There's a bunch of other things to mention as well, like my character saying "go on" about 12 times in a row yet again. The writing there is just strange. I don't get it. The return of the inventory resize bug. Why isn't this fixed for good yet? Why is this still here? Ugh. Rip in peace the Queensdale champion train that I never did. Lion's Arch is in use again so soon after Season 1 ended, which is questionable and I'm not sure if I like that or not. There's new character faces to use. There's Phoenix weapons in the gem store again. And I'm glancing over the stuff that I'm probably forgetting about as well. I'm just glancing over that because I don't really have much opinion to talk about there. And finally, I'll mention that the complaints I had about the traits in the last video are now invalid, because they changed the requirements for high level map completion to killing certain champions and doing certain interesting meta events, which is a very good change and I applaud ArenaNet for that. Thanks for listening. And now all we need to do is just get rid of the World v World requirements and diversify the trait unlock requirements a little bit more to perfect the system 100%. Oh, there's also some fractal dredge changes which I haven't seen yet and probably won't for a long time, but again, good. This sounds very good, although I haven't seen the implementation myself first hand. So there we go, I'm asking for a lot and I'm complaining a lot again. What do you expect? I'm MagicalMike. We've got to set goals, and mine might be a bit unreasonable, but at least I have some idea of what I want. So I have been MagicalMike, this has been The Patch, and thank you for watching.